In the headlines, bandits attack military checkpoint on Abuja-Kaduna highway, kill soldiers as army redeploys senior officers. Court sentences Abdul Malik Tanko Hashim to death by hanging. 23 states, Federal Capital Territory receive 24.45 billion naira from conditional grant schemes. And on the foreign scene, protests against military administration paralyze Guinea capital. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Now the details. Some soldiers were reportedly killed when Boko Haram terrorists raided a military checkpoint around Zumarok in Niger State on Thursday night. The area close to Madala town is a few meters away from Zuba, along the Abuja-Kaduna highway. A source told Daily Trust that the attackers arrived at the spot some minutes after 7 p.m. and opened fire immediately. The attack comes amid heightened tension in the Federal Capital Territory over likely terrorist attacks. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Army has redeployed senior officers in a major reshuffle that affects some principal staff officers of the Army headquarters. General officers commanding corps commanders, commandants of training institutions, brigade commanders and commanding officers, among others. This comes as Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu, who is the Director of Army Public Relations, announced the redeployment of the soldiers in a statement on Friday. He said the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, has approved the posting of some senior officers of the Nigerian Army to command, instructional and staff appointments across the service formations and units. Meanwhile, Defense Headquarters says troops have eliminated 30 of the terrorists that attacked operatives of the Guard Brigade in the Bwari area of the Federal Capital Territory on Sunday. The Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Bernard Onyeko, said this at a news conference on military operations on Thursday in Abuja. Onyeko said troops of the 7 Guards Battalion and 167 Special Forces Battalion, in conjunction with the air component of Operation Whirl Punch, carried out the operation between Sunday and Tuesday. He said the troops successfully cleared Kau and Ido villages, neutralizing the terrorists and destroying their enclave and hideout. According to him, the ground troops also recovered 6 motorcycles, 2 AK-47 rifles and 1 fully loaded LMG magazine, among others, during mop-up. The armed forces of Nigeria have resolved to deploy a new strategy in the coming weeks to deal with the snippets of violence across the country. National Security Advisor Babagana Munguno disclosed this to newsmen at State House Abuja on Thursday at the end of an emergency National Security Council meeting convened by President Muhammadu Buhari. Major General Munguno also disclosed that the council was winding up the special investigative panel on the attack on the Kuje Correctional Center. The idea, he explained, was to come up with recommendations that will hold those responsible for security lapses that enabled the attack. The NSA, however, urged the media to tone down its reportage of insecurity, as certain reports could aggravate this delicate situation.
Approach, whole of government approach, to get a whole of nation approach. What it means is that everybody has to partake in this enterprise. The truth is that no country can ever overcome the difficulties of an asymmetric conflict by virtue of the fact that the enemy of the state is embedded within the population, within the wider society. It is true that the local people are averse, they're scared, they're worried, and there's no confidence. That is understandable. But without their support, without their cooperation in terms of giving information, it makes it very hard for the operational elements. A few days ago, troops of the Guards Brigade were ambushed and decimated.
Now to legislative matters, where former Senate Majority Leader Abdullahi Yahya has given an account of what transpired during the Senate closed-door session where lawmakers decided to give President Muhammadu Buhari an ultimatum to address rising insecurity or face impeachment. Senators from opposition parties on Wednesday issued a 6-week ultimatum to the president on rising insecurity. Senator Yahaya, who defected to the opposition PDP, speaks exclusively to Trust TV on the development.
There was disagreement at the closed session whether on one of the issues only, that the government, the president, an ultimatum should be given to the president to bring the level of security down. The issue was not raised up, so the minority raised a point of order, saying that he wants the issue that we discussed in closed session discussed. The Senate President said no, you cannot do that because we have not even agreed on the issues that are supposed to be tabled there, because some of the issues that you raised, other members also raised, have not been resolved. Therefore, since there is no resolution, then nothing can be said plenary about what we did in the executive session. Though actually there was no resolution, no nothing. So nothing has come out officially.
Similarly, the People's Democratic Party caucus in the House of Representatives has joined their counterparts in the Senate on plans to issue an impeachment notice to President Muhammadu Buhari. The opposition lawmakers made their position known after a closed-door meeting on Thursday in Abuja. Leader of the PDP caucus in the House, Ndudi Elumelu, said his colleagues are on the same page with the senators who staged a walkout of plenary on Wednesday. Elumelu noted that the security situation in the country, the dwindling value of the naira, and the resurgence of crude oil theft are good enough reasons to impeach the president.
We think that it's high time that the insecurity of this nation is addressed. And of course, we also have the issue of oil theft, which has risen, which is now making it difficult for earn income from oil revenue. And these and many others is the reason why we are joining our colleagues in the Senate to ask Mr. President to address the insecurity of this nation within 8 weeks, between 6 and 8 weeks. Otherwise, we will find the constitutional means to ensure that we will serve him an impeachment notice.
It is a bipartisan issue. We all agreed that the security architecture is failing and there's the need to salvage it immediately. And we also agreed that we must issue, for some who do not know, the issue is to issue an impeachment notice to the president, because the primary responsibility of government is the protection of lives of its citizens. Once that is not done, then there is a problem.
The federal government is accusing the BBC and Trust TV for broadcasting a documentary on terrorism and banditry in Nigeria. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said this in an interview with newsmen on Thursday in Abuja. Trust TV aired a documentary highlighting plight of victims of kidnapping and banditry in key northern states. Mohammed said the federal government is aware of the documentary by the BBC Africa Eye, where interviews were granted to bandit warlords and terror gangs considered to be promoting terror in the country. Meanwhile, a Kano State High Court has sentenced Abdul Malik Tanko to death by hanging after being convicted for the kidnap and killing of a 5-year-old pupil, Hanifa Abubakar. The presiding judge, Justice Usman Naabba, during a 3-hour judgment, holds that the prosecution proved beyond reasonable doubt that Abdul Malik and the 2 others had indeed committed the crime and therefore convicted and sentenced. Idris Jibril, who has been following the trial, filed in this report.
Abdul Malik Tanko, the principal suspect, is now sentenced to death by hanging and 5 years imprisonment. Hashim Isiaku, death by hanging and 5 years imprisonment, while Fatima Jibrin is to serve 2 years imprisonment for conspiracy an attempt to kidnap.
With regards to the kidnapping, the concealment, the punishment for that is death. And the first and second defendant were sentenced to death on those two offenses, and then on the offense of conspiracy, the first defendant was given 5 years, while the second defendant was given, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years. And then the third defendant was given 2 years also for the two offenses he was convicted on.
Nearly 5 months since Abdul Malik Tanko and 2 others were first brought before a Kano State High Court on the allegation of kidnapping and killing of 5-year-old Hanifa Abubakar. Presiding Judge Justice Usman Naba ruled that the prosecution has proved beyond reasonable doubt that Abdul Malik and his co-accused had indeed committed a crime punishable under sections 97, 274, 277, and 221 laws of Kano State.
There are about 5 head count of charges. We succeeded in 4. Of course, we succeeded in proving to the court that there was kidnapping. Hanifa was kidnapped by the first accused person, and which kidnapped was known by the second defendant, but he concealed it and did not disclose it to the security agencies. And again, thirdly, we also charged them with conspiracy, which also the court agreed with us that the 3 of them conspired to kidnap Hanifa.
Alhamdulillah.
For Hanifa's parent, justice may have been served, but the circumstances leading to the death of their daughter will forever be remembered.
From day one, I have never thought that justice will be denied. I'm therefore grateful to Almighty Allah and to everyone who has been praying for us. Thank you very much. We thank you so much for coming.
Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
You're watching Trust TV News Update. And still to come, after the break, why second-hand materials are becoming popular. Details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us.
Every patriotic Nigerian should hear this. Any politician who means well for the people will never allow themselves or their supporters to engage in any violent, destructive activities. No politician who truly wants to serve the people and develop the nation will encourage his followers to destroy properties or take human lives before, during, or after the elections. The Nigerian public must watch out for these traits and isolate any politician who encourages supporters to engage in violence. No genuine politician or patriot will cause trouble and seek to destroy the very society which they aspire to lead or develop. Politicians who have the good of the people at heart will not allow themselves or their followers to engage in violence, destruction of properties, and then taking of lives. Be vigilant. By their words you shall know them. Shun violence. Stay away from politicians who want you to do so. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NORA.
That's great. It's good to see you.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us on Trust TV News Update. Now, a recap of our top stories. Bandits attack military checkpoint on Abuja-Kaduna Highway, kill soldiers as army redeploys senior officers. And court sentences Abdul Malik Tanko Hashim to death by hanging. Moving on to other news now. At least 1.3 million children of school age are out of school in Bauchi State. Now, this is according to statistics presented during the state launch of the Nigeria Learning Passport in collaboration with United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF. The state program coordinator, Abdullahi Abubakar Umar, disclosed this while presenting an overview of the project to stakeholders in Bauchi. Adamu Imam has details.
The state coordinator advised stakeholders to encourage Bauchi citizens to embrace digital learning. The State Commissioner of Education pointed out that the program is not only for urban schools, as rural students are also captured in the initiative.
ICT, you require computers, tablets, Kindles, and so many things. But as I said, it is just like the challenge of building roads and railways and airports during those days of animal carriage. But these are things that can be done. Government has been building the classrooms for over 100 years today. Now, the classrooms now will be on the internet, and it rests on government and parents to make access quite possible to the children, regardless of their location.
High-level women advocates Bauchi, one of the education partners in the state, supported the need to encourage girl-child education.
Society can move in the right speed without integrating the girl child and the women. And I'm also happy that the desk officer of donor partners is a female, Hadia Sa'adatu. So a lot of things will be achieved.
Tusha Rain, UNICEF Field Office Bauchi, who admitted the challenge in attaining SDG 4 on quality education, noted that the COVID-19 pandemic further derailed effort to advance education for children in Nigeria.
Many a times we have seen that equipped with skills and opportunities, young people can drive the transformation we need for all-round sustainable development. At UNICEF, we remain committed to championing innovations and partnership that strengthen the development of every child, not only in education, but also in health, nutrition, protection, and others.
They maintain that the initiative is a national program to address the gap caused by COVID-19 pandemic and the lingering abduction of school children across the country. Adamu Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
Now, the use of second-hand items in Nigeria is quite popular and is often triggered by a lack of strong purchasing power. In this report, Chamun Dabeng explores Nigeria's second-hand economy.
Whether you call it bend down select, okrika, tokumbo, or thrift, the fact is it is almost impossible to overstate the importance of the social construction that goes into buying and selling of second-hand items in Nigeria today. Nigerians have become so dependent on second-hand items that you can always find something fairly used to buy.
From furniture, clothing, everyday electrical appliances, phones and even cars, all for a fraction of the original price. Recent figures released by the United Nations shows that 80% of Africans wear second-hand clothes, while Nigeria happens to be one of the largest importers of second-hand items. Today we find out why in Panteka Market located in the FCT.
I've been here for at least 5 years selling these kind of materials, including beds, wardrobe, TV stand, dressing mirror, the whole house interior, anything that has to do with house interior. I decided to be part of this business. Let me just splash back a little. I graduated from Nasarawa State University, Kefi. So after my graduation, I realized that job has now become a hot cake. Government job has become a hot cake. So I just give an advice to myself. Let's assume I never been to school. What will I do for a living? Alhamdulillah, we thank God. The business is moving so fine and is profitable. If not as a result of all these problems and obstacles, I would have said I prefer to be here than to have a 300,000 job.
There are some people who renovate their houses who needed those things to be moved away. So these people buy them and we buy from them. Some of these things they sell are high quality, even more than the one in the shop. Sometimes I don't have money for new ones. And again, there are some of the imported materials, goods. There are some of these big men in Abuja, they usually renovate their houses. So they buy new ones and they make their way with the old ones. The old ones find their way in this market and you can buy those ones cheap and high quality things from here.
The use of pre-owned pieces in Nigeria is not peculiar. The expansion of the market dates back to the 1950s and 1960s, where Okrika in Rivers State was the only port where second-hand items from Europe could arrive. As of today, Nigeria's second-hand economy continues to thrive. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And in business now, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, Adejoke Orelokbe Adefulire, has said 23 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory have received 24 billion naira from the conditional grant schemes. She said this while featuring on the ministerial media briefing organized by the Presidential Communications team at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. She said it was provided as incentive to invest more of their resources into areas of national development priorities and the Millennium Development Goals. The fund, disbursed from 2015 till date, was introduced in 2007 with a 50% matching grant from the federal government and 50% from the participating states.
The projects executed were on 3 critical sectors: water and sanitation. 732 projects has been done, providing water, sanitation to communities, to schools, and through our partners, in support with our partner, the donor agencies. 494 primary healthcare centers are built and equipped in different states. 616 education facilities, notably schools, were built, equipped for young people for the basic education at the state levels. 1,150,000 women and men were empowered.
Now for a look at the foreign scene, where protests against Guinea's military government and its handling of plans to return to democracy have brought the capital to a standstill, with organizers saying one person was killed. The National Front for the Defense of the Constitution, FNDC, said one person died after being hit by a bullet in the Conakry suburb of Hamdallah, while several others had been injured during the protests on Thursday. The FNDC is an influential political coalition that called for the demonstrations last week to condemn the military's unilateral management of a return to civilian rule after it seized power in 2021. Former ruling Rally for the Guinean People and the National Alliance for Change and Democracy, another coalition of parties and associations, also called on their supporters to join the demonstrations. And in sports now, UEFA said it will start a disciplinary investigation against Turkey's Fenerbahce over a group of its fans chanting Russian President Vladimir Putin's name after conceding a goal at home to Dynamo Kiev in the Champions League qualifier. Fenerbahce's hopes of competing in Europe's elite Champions League football competition this season were dashed by a 2-1 extra-time loss to Kiev in the second qualifying round tie in Istanbul on Wednesday. Vitaly Buяльский put the Ukrainian side ahead In the 57th minute, shortly after Fenerbahce midfielder Ismail Yüksek was sent off in a tense match. The game ended 1-1 after 90 minutes, but Kyiv knocked out Fenerbahce with a 114th minute winner by Alexander Karabayev. And that wraps up Trans TV News Update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for joining us.